friend from the street. Oh, who's this guy?
Once a year, at an abandoned location somewhere in London, a group of squatters, artists and musicians come together to create a temporary gallery space.
That is sick!
Thank you, yeah, just kind of threw it all together.
That's really beautiful.
Funny enough, yeah.
Sorry, you're using real human skin?
No, sorry.
No. Unless you have something to throw into the pot, then maybe.
The TIA started as a kind of rebellion against the art world and all the elitism and the, kind of classism that comes with it. Not only that, but it came straight out of the free party scene, straight out of the squat scene in the 90s. And yeah, it was a way for sort of underground artists that might not have made it in the mainstream art world to express themselves in a space that was reclaimed.
The idea is that it's free, it's very free and it's very open. The only thing we don't tolerate is intolerance, basically. And it's safe for everyone, it's a safe space for everyone to express themselves.
So it's a game, you know? You need a crazy world of experimentation to build the institution of tomorrow, you know?
I mean, yeah, there is a housing crisis, and yeah, especially now we've got the cost of living crisis. These guys are directly using squats to house street sleepers because there is such a need for it at the moment. So that's another thing that empty buildings can be used for, not just art exhibitions, but also for, basic needs of the population. Laws around squatting have changed. They did change in 2012, and although they haven't changed directly since the new trespassing bill, and the laws around that could potentially change things quite a lot for squatters, for the squatting community, and for squatted events like TAA. And yeah, it's definitely a sense that the government doesn't like events, that aren't done in a way that they see as legitimate.
My own team didn't want me to come to this event tonight because they said that there were some uncooperative crusties and protesters of all kinds.
No one should have to put up with disturbances and disruptions on their doorsteps. Unauthorised encampments can create significant challenges for local authorities and cause distress and misery to those who live nearby. As we pledged in our manifesto, we will make it a criminal offence to live in a vehicle on land without permission, and we'll give the police the power to seize vehicles if necessary.
So this is another particularly vicious attack on the nomadic way of life.
Reclaiming and empty spaces in a very particular way. We're showing that there could be more here and that this is a waste of space, especially in a society where there's so much homelessness and other things like that. We could be creating more spaces for art and people with mental health to have workshops and The TAA in particular, I feel, among landlords and among the police has a good name, as it were. Definitely better than other squat parties where they just have a massive sound system and no real care to the building. The building in a better condition than we found it, if possible. And so any landlords or police that the second they know that it's a TAA, they tend to just kind of leave us alone because they also know we're going to leave. Feel like hopefully that will mean that we won't have more issues even with the laws changing because we have created a name for ourselves. But I'm not sure. I guess we will have to start, if it becomes much more difficult to have the right kind of space to do these in, we'll have to start looking at outdoor spaces or just contacting landlords who have empty buildings directly. It's about showing that there's a hole there. A lot of people who are very creative, in my experience, have some form of neurodivergent something a lot of the time, and they're the kind of people who find it very difficult to communicate with a big art world, something to ask even to do an exhibition. It's a class issue almost, where people who come from less money or in lower positions are not taken seriously as artists or not given a platform to show their art because it's a world for the rich and it's a world for people that can afford the gallery space. idea of what even good art is has become a decision for a very select group of people, and I don't agree with that. I think well, there's the classic saying that art is something that has no other purpose except to be art, which I think is fantastic.
And before you said that, you were like, so is the idea that we get consent before every action? That kind of question. Yeah. And I think Ben was kind of, and then you were kind of saying, is that the ideal squad?
I don't really know what I'm doing myself.
Right, yeah.
Because we don't have the right parts to connect to this pipe. I'm kind of making it up as I'm going along.
I don't plug a toilet in above the room. Yeah?
And right from the moment we saw pictures of this building, we were like, toilets? That was it. So this conversation was like, from the moment that people got into the building to the moment that they actually, these things got built, which were incredible to the credit to the crew who built that.
We don't know what the building's going to be like until we get there, and it doesn't matter what things I request. I never know for sure if there's going to be actually power outlets, for example, in the building, or if we're going to have to run power from the mains. I don't know. I don't know what condition the building's going to be in as far as cleanliness, finished, whether there'll even be an actual room I can use as a kitchen, or if I'm going to have to build a kitchen in the middle of an open space. I've had buildings where, I've had to spend 3 days cleaning before I can even start building a kitchen to make sure that we can actually provide people with food from a hygienic and safe environment.
It's quite civilised people, quite
TAA is donation based, and the entire thing is run off of volunteer and donations from people that come and people that volunteer and work at it, as well as ourselves. And we always put aside, so we take all the donations, and afterwards it's all donated. All of the profit, as it were, is donated to charities, some within the community, sometimes outside of the community, i.e. the sort of alternative protesty, rights movement type, like artist community.
The wall is painted great. And
so the show will be, if the show go on today, it will be great.
My work is not to select what is good, what is bad, because here we are actually asking the question of going beyond the good and the bad. That is all the point of autonomy, like no judgment. So me, as organizing the projection and stuff like this, I don't have legitimacy to say anything about your work. If you've got the courage enough to give me your work to be projected, I just have to find a place when it will be the best represented, Like this, everybody can find its place. And because me, I can't select, because the selection is the separation. And the separation is the beginning of the end of the big oneness.
So much going on in all places where you're not in some sort of calm environment necessarily. So when you're looking at a painting, there's actually lots going on around you. There's a guy, say, perhaps doing on the drums over there. There's some sort of maybe music thing going on over there. There's a load of people having a chat. There's just so there's there's a lot more going on there.
What was supposed to get here?
15 minutes is when we open.
15 minutes?
3 o'clock. Time is flexible here. All times are subject to change and no notice.
Yeah.
And will be amended.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So hold the fort for a second, and basically hold the fort basically. Just make sure the boat doesn't sink.
I'm not gonna go down with this ship. Bye.
No pressure.
It is much more of a festival atmosphere, and much more. It's more like seeing artwork at a festival, like at Glastonbury or something like that, than it is going to the Tate. I think it's much more like, but in an abandoned building.
Yeah.
So.
There is it's a very beautiful group when everybody support each other, and that is quite super beautiful to not be judged but to be supported. People are here to work together, and that is what you find in TAA. People working together to make something beautiful happen. Things never change. So the big question is not the future of squatting. It will be always here, always there.
From fighting, let's not forget where this came from. I mean, at the end of the day, it definitely came from the free fighting, for sure, 100%. Its roots, it evolved into something different.
It's got quite a following of people that perhaps wouldn't have come into contact with squats before, wouldn't have ever been to a squat. And, you know, the police apparently have come into the TAA before with the plan to shut down the event, and then saw the artwork on the walls and said, actually, this is really nice, we're going to leave you guys alone. So it's even like changed the police's view of squatters. That's still a huge amount of empty commercial buildings that could be used for events, could be used for housing, could be used for a whole number of reasons.